next section of questions are about lodging the appeal. So this is a group of people who have decided they're going to appeal, and they've got questions about lodging it, about the Send 35 form particularly. Saida says, what evidence can I submit with a Send 35 and how long have I got to do this? An anonymous person has said, do I need a mediation certificate? Should I try mediation? Nicola has asked whether there's any further opportunity to send more evidence if it becomes available after you've sent in the Send 35. And Jessica has asked what information does she need to include on the Send 35 for an F and I appeal. On consult, our first preference school have said yes, and the mainstream resource base said no. Does this support our appeal? Okay. You need to fill in a Send 35 to lodge your appeal. You need to have enough information in your Send 35 to reach the threshold to convince Sendist that you qualify for appeal, that you meet the criteria for a right of appeal. That means you must demonstrate that there are some gaps in section B, there's some gaps in section F, and that you believe the wrong school has been named because of that. The gaps in section B might be things like the local authority have missed out the speech and language therapy identified needs. The local authority have missed out the speech and language therapy identified provision, therefore the wrong school is named. It might be that they didn't do a speech and language therapy assessment. So then the deficit in B would be his speech and language therapy needs haven't been recorded in B because no assessment has taken place, and I'm going to have an independent assessment done which is going to identify the omitted needs in B. Because there's been no speech and language therapy assessment, no provision's been identified for speech and language, so there's omissions in F, and because of these omissions, the wrong school has been selected. It can't provide for his speech and language therapy needs. You need to give that sort of level of information. So again, you need to know what's wrong with your EHCP. We've got a webinar, we flagged it in the slides, and that webinar will tell you exactly step by step. It goes through the Send 35 form and explains exactly what to put in each box. And it provides you example Send 35 forms, template Send 35 forms, and details of what evidence. I suggest if you are doing an appeal yourself, that is a really good resource. It will support you through the whole of that first stage of your appeal. Do you need a mediation certificate first? Yes. Now, you don't need a mediation certificate if you're only mediating, if you're only appealing section I. But unless you have had an EHCP checked by Sarah or I, and we have said to you, just appeal I, because your EHCP is absolutely spot on, then we do not advise you to just appeal I. So you will not be putting in your appeal without getting a mediation certificate. You need to ring the mediator. You need to say, I've thought about mediation and I've decided I'm not going to go to mediation. I want to go straight to appeal because this is phased transition and I haven't got time to waste. If you go to mediation, it's going to take 6 weeks to get to mediation, at least, maybe a bit longer. And then if mediation is not successful, you're going to have to put in your appeal and you're going to be at the back of the queue by then. The chances of a local authority changing a school place at mediation are very, very slim. The chances of it failing and you being at the back of the queue are very, very high. So we advise not to go to mediation, but you will need your mediation certificate. You cannot submit an appeal. You can't get an appeal accepted without sending your mediation certificate, the letter that came with your updated EHCP giving the right of appeal, and your Send 35 form filled in. That is the minimum 3 things. You then need to send as much evidence as you've got. Don't waste time scrabbling for things, finding things, collating things, waiting for new things to come in. Send what you've got and you can lay your hands on, because you will be given a timetable, and that timetable will give you at least 2 months to gather further evidence and put it in. So don't wait And don't worry about sending everything with your Send 35 form. There will be opportunities to do that later.
Just a quick one on the mediation certificate, Anna. We quite often see on the group people saying, oh, you must contact, and the usual one is Global Mediation.
Yeah.
Just to say there are more than one mediation agency, and you must use the one that is assigned to your local authority.
Yeah, the details are in your letter, that letter that came with your updated plan. You must ring the telephone number on that letter.